What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're in the Mercedes-Benz G550 4x4 squared. Another beautiful vehicle from my friends over at Monza Exotics. If you're in Southern California looking to rent any luxury or exotic car, go hit them up and they will take care of you. They have a beautiful fleet of exotics that they're constantly adding to. Now jumping right into the video, the Mercedes-Benz G550 4x4 squared is powered by a 4-liter V8 Biturbo producing 416 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque, putting that power to all four wheels via a 7-speed automatic transmission. This monster weighs in at 6,825 pounds, making it over 3 tons. It'll get you from 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds, putting it just 0.4 seconds behind the standard G550 with the same powertrain, which is pretty impressive given that the 4x4 squared is 753 pounds heavier. Standing at 7 feet 4 inches, the 4x4 squared is nearly a foot taller than a regular G550, as well as 82.7 inches wide, making it a foot wider than the standard G-Class as well. And for additional perspective, it's also wider than a Ford Raptor. The 4x4 squared comes from the factory with 36.1 inch tall Pirelli Scorpion ATRs and 22-inch wheels, as well as portal axles, giving this wagon a whopping 17.2 inches of ground clearance. That is double the ground clearance of a Raptor. The portal axles, which use in-hub gears to locate the wheel centers below the axle's drive shafts, combined with the massive wheels, deliver 7.9 more inches of clearance than the standard G550 counterpart. And taking a look here, you'll see dual springs and struts accompanying each wheel with remote reservoirs tucked under these massive carbon fiber fenders. This particular car was originally finished in Tannerite Gray Metallic over a black Alcantara interior. Monza has since had it wrapped in China Blue, also a factory Mercedes paint option, although that wasn't available to spec on this generation of the G-Class, as well as reupholstering the interior in red diamond-stitched Alcantara. Approximately 300 units of the 4x4 squared were imported to the United States, and another thing to note is that this is called the G550 4x4 squared in North America, whereas it is the G500 4x4 squared in the rest of the world, although it is the same drivetrain. On US models, it was a requirement for this rear aluminum bumper for crash standards, as well as ambers due to the size of this vehicle. Coming back around to the front, you'll also see this awesome carbon fiber light bar with the ambers as well, and on the US models, the LED lights were actually disabled, although if you know the right people, you can easily have that reversed and get them working again. Last thing to note too is that when the 4x4 squared debuted, you would have been looking at a starting price from Mercedes at about $225,000. Now let's go check out the inside of this wagon, and one of my favorite things personally that I think a lot of people can agree on is the locks on these cars. Look at that. It was just like a Brinks truck, and then opening up this door, same thing. Now going ahead and hopping in the driver's seat, one nice thing is that you do have these side steps, which this is one of the only cars where I find those to be actually useful and less of just a decoration. And jumping back in, just listen to that door and your locks. First impressions upon hopping in, you'll see Alcantara on just about everything in this car, including the seats, which these are reupholstered. However, the door panels and the seats did come in Alcantara on these 4x4 squareds from the factory. And we will go ahead and open up that sunroof too. No glass, just an open top like this. Now another interesting point about these cars is the cup holders. The only real one you have in the front here is this, which was the basketball net that it appears the renter broke off, but this would be right here, and that was your only real cup holder in the front seat. You do have these two in the glove box, but you're not going to want to use those while driving. Not quite a Cullinan level ride quality, so you're probably going to be spilling drinks all over yourself if you do use those. However, they are nice if you're stationary. And then in the back here, you've got these two, which I do find myself using more than the net in the front, just because they're more stable. Now to the left of the driver's seat here, you'll see your standard window controls, seat controls, and your door handle and locks down there. Now taking a look at this beautiful carbon fiber console, first thing I note here is the awesome parking brake. I love a traditional parking brake like that. And then coming down here, you've got your controls for the screen up there. and your air conditioning, suspension setting for sport or comfort. And my favorite right here is the gear selector. I love a traditional gear selector like this, not the staff that you'll find on a lot of new cars, including all the new Mercedes. Up on the wheel here, you just have your turn signals and your windshield wipers, but down here you have your traditional gear selector and a parking brake. And moving up a little bit more here, we'll see the heated and cooled seats there, your phone controls, and then in the middle here, which some of you might be familiar with on the G-Wagons, are your locking differentials. You've got 3 of them, which are standard in all the G classes, and you're only going to want to use those in substantial off-road terrain because it increases the traction by forcing both tires on an axle to turn when you activate one of these 3 options. Now let's go hop out and check out the back here. One thing to note is that it is a little bit more difficult to get into the back seat than it is the front or even the back seat of a non-4x4 wagon because you have this giant fender here and not too much room to hop in the back. So let's go jump up here so I can show you. You know, not the most leg room, not like the Maybach in the last video, but it's doable. You can fit adults back here, 3, more comfortable with 2, but it's still comfortable in the back here. And I do have the front moved back quite a bit, so if you have a shorter driver, there's plenty of room back here. The only thing to note is that you don't have too much room getting in and out, so a little more difficult than a regular wagon, but certainly still doable. All right, now that we've looked at the car a little bit, let's do the fun part. Let's go for a drive. Bring that 4-liter V8 to life and we'll get rolling. Now I like to go ahead and keep the car in sport just because it's a little bit more responsive, and then also throw the suspension in sport too, tightens it up a little bit, and then you experience a little bit less body roll. And this thing is a beast. I mean, it weighs over 3 tons, so you are going to get some body roll, but it's not the worst. We've got that recirculating ball steering. A little bit vague, but I mean, it's to be expected on a car of this size. Wow, that was a little close for that squirrel. Not the car to get ran over by. At least it'll be over quick. The funny thing about the 4x4 squared is that I would daily one without question. Despite how big it is still completely practical in my opinion and easily manageable. You know, even in tight roads, parking, which you guys will see in a little bit, it's still a very, very manageable, practical car despite how outrageous it looks. I don't know if you can really see it from here in the camera, but in the reflection on this Defender's tire cover, you can see we got the top LEDs on, but I don't know if you can really tell. All right, we're gonna get some gas and then get back on the road here. All right, let's get back on the road. See what I mean? Plenty of room to get through tight spaces. Now you might call me crazy that I would for sure daily a 4x4 squared, whether it's this generation being the 550 or the newer G63 4x4 squared, but I don't know, there's just something about the road presence and just the history of the G-Wagon altogether that I absolutely love. And the driving characteristics, how unique it is. I mean, the regular wagon's unique enough on its own, but the 4x4 squared is just a whole nother experience. And I'm hoping to do a video with this soon here. Not today, but taking it up to Santiago Peak, which isn't too far from here. It's just pretty cool off-road trail that goes to a sweet lookout point. But that'd be a cool video in a car like this. I've never seen a 4x4 squared or any wagon for that matter up there. Now, I'm sure you guys have already heard it. If not, you will once we get going at a little higher speed. But the only gripe I really have is the wind noise is crazy in this thing. Like, you just hear the howling the entire time you're driving over like 30, which once you hit like 60, you really hear it. But I mean, as I said before, it's kind of expected in a vehicle like this. Probably see here too, the alignment's a little off, but manageable still. There's a certain level of finesse you gotta apply when you're driving these, and you can probably see too the dead zone in the wheel. Beautiful day out. Now, I will say a little bit of a caveat here in terms of the practicality is that, as you can see with the size of this thing, I mean, it's almost 7.5 feet tall. You're not going to be able to fit this in too many garages. Like, I can't even get this in my garage if I wanted to. Width-wise, you are really cutting it close, but height-wise, not happening. I mean, it hardly fits under this balcony here, but that's about the only thing that you'd have to adjust to with 4x4 squared ownership, is you're going to either need a really tall garage to keep it in or a nice spot for it outside. There's just nothing like the sound of a wagon's 4-liter V8. Or just a Mercedes V8 in general. I still think one of the best sounding engines. try to do a Lido coffee run, but I have a feeling it's gonna be an absolute zoo just based on the traffic right now. Nothing new. New Range Sport. Not a huge fan of what they did to the rear of the new Ranges. They've just made it so round. Every new car now they've just made so round and bloated looking. Only thing that this is missing is a giant train horn. You already got the LED lights to flash at people. This thing would be a dangerous amount of fun if it had a train horn. Maybe some sirens built in too. This is the quintessential apocalypse vehicle. Just get it bulletproofed. I would not want to know how much this would weigh though if you did get it bulletproofed. We got up here old Willie's Jeep, nice. All right, let's see. Oh, do I see a spot? Let's go. No cars. Perfect. See just how manageable this absolute tank is. Still parallel parking, no problem. Alrighty. Now unfortunately we don't have that basketball hoop cup holder. That won't even fit with the straw, so go to my usual ones in the back. The deepest, safest, doesn't go anywhere. Already got someone waiting for the spot, not surprised. See, even Lido's no challenge for the 4x4 squared's practicality. Good job, good looking. Didn't even look. Many such cases. This thing's road presence is wild. Pretty cool seeing the reflection of it. I think it looks really good in the China Blue, which wasn't offered from the factory on this wagon. You can get it now on the newer 4x4 squared G63s as a factory paint option, but I think it looks really good on this generation too. And they did a really nice job on this wrap. Some wraps are come out a little janky, not the cleanest edges, and you can kind of tell from afar, but this, even up close, this wrap looks really good. Now let's see what it says we are getting right now. 11 mpg, about what I expected. I guess with a 4-liter V8 and something this heavy, you should be happy to get anything in the double digits. Get over. Not sitting in that. Automatic sub. Thank you. Let's have some more of that. Nice day to be on a boat. This is a little bit of a boat, I guess. Oh, another 4x4 squared. Huh. Yeah, the funny thing is, with only 300 units brought to the US, the amount of these that I've seen just in Orange County, genuinely, like, no joke, at least probably 30 to 40 different units of these just in Orange County. Looking forward to taking this thing up Santiago. That'll be a pretty cool video and experience. Using it what it's actually meant for. That's the thing too, how capable these are off-road. Even just the standard G-Class alone, but what this is capable of off-road and what they never get used for, ever. This too, you can see even on a little bit of a more narrow road, this thing's still perfectly fine, even with the width. And I've been lucky enough to drive dozens of different 4x4 squareds, so I'm pretty used to being behind the wheel of these, but that's one thing that you do have to be a little more aware of if you aren't as accustomed to it, is just the width of the car, because you know what you can see out the window in your field of view, the width of a regular G-Class, which really isn't too wide, but you got to remember that you have an extra foot of width with those fenders on the sides. And if you do happen to hit something with them, that's not going to be a cheap repair because they are completely carbon fiber. Triple shot latte. Didn't need 4 today. 3's enough. You know, I would keep this open right now, but the wind noise is just gonna destroy the audio, which is already not too fantastic. The 4x4 is certainly still a G-Wagon through to its core. And it's funny, some people dislike the driving characteristics of the wagons. I personally love them because, you know, I mean, it was made as a military vehicle. It's a rugged off-road vehicle, and the people that dislike them think they're getting into, just because it is, you know, one of Mercedes' flagship SUVs, and it is definitely, the newer ones are still luxury. It's not as rugged as the military vehicles. that they started out as, but it's also not a GLE or a GLS, you know? It's a way different driving experience. Same as people, I actually knew a guy that he bought a GT3 RS and ended up returning it after a week and bought a Turbo S, which is a much more comfortable, friendly car to drive daily than an RS is. I mean, you're buying a Rennsport, it's a track car, and people seem to forget that when they buy one sometimes. And they're complaining about, oh, it's uncomfortable to drive. Well, it's a track car. It wasn't made for comfort. Just as I still think the G-Class is very comfortable, but it's not as smooth and comfortable to drive as, say, the GLE is. So it's a very different experience. Although I will say the newer ones, night and day difference from this generation to the 2019s and up. Like we got coming right here, this G63. Those are much, much more comfortable than this, but even with that said, doesn't mean that I dislike how this generation drives whatsoever. I think it's awesome, and if anything, it's more G-Wagon, because the newer ones have meshed much more with all the other SUVs and Mercedes lineup, so there's a lot less distinctive driving characteristics with the new ones than there are with the previous generations of it. You know, it sounds outrageous. What would be pretty cool though? A manual 4x4 squared. Love to feel how ridiculous that would be to drive. Okay, so for whatever reason, the last 25 minutes that we're just recording was in portrait mode. It was vertical for some reason. So instead of refilming all that, just gonna roll with it. Just means I have to manually check the screen on the housing, I guess, every time I start to record something. So that doesn't happen again, which is weird because it hadn't happened before. That looks fun. One nice thing about this too is there's no lane assist, so it doesn't yell at you if you're just following the natural line of the road and happen to go over the line in doing so, versus the newer ones that'll jerk you back in the lane. Not a big fan of that. for you guys too, we will do a little parking test just to show you that you can easily fit a 4x4 squared into any regular parking spot. Yes, it's big. Yes, you're gonna be just about line to line, but that is not to say that you can't fit this in a regular sized parking spot like any other car. All right, let's hop out. Is it big? Yeah, it's big, but it fits just like any other car. So there's no reason you can't fit this in one spot. Don't need to double park. Don't need to be all worried about it. Park it like any other car. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our video. I want to thank you guys again for watching and apologize for the little difficulty we had with the vertical mode. Not the end of the world, but again, thank you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And I want to give another big shout out to Monza for making this possible. If you're in Southern California looking to rent any luxury or exotic car, hit them up. They'll take care of you. See you guys in the next video.